Astrobot is one of the best games of 2024. One of my favorite parts about Astrobot is all of the different power-ups that you get to use in the game. Today, I'm going to be ranking all 12 power-ups from the worst to the best. My name is James, and I started this channel simply because I love video games. If that sounds like you, please subscribe to my channel so that you can see more videos just like this one. I said that I was going to be doing all of the power-ups. I chose not to include a couple of them that are single use, like the magnet and the light bulb and the duck, which is on like a timer. But all of the other ones will be covered in this video. It should probably go without saying, but this video is going to have spoilers for the different power-ups in Astrobot, and if you don't want to have the power-ups spoiled for you, do not watch this video. And with all of that out of the way, let's get started. Coming in last place is the Octopus balloon thing. This one basically just makes Astro kind of puff up like a balloon and start floating up into the air, which it was interesting the first time you used it, but other than using this to reach high areas that you weren't able to get to before, and then using it to be able to get pushed around by the wind, there's not a lot of uses for this power-up, and it's just not very fun to use. Up next is the penguin. While getting to be a penguin and flowing through the water is fun, the big downside for this one is that you can only really use it in the water. And I'm not a huge fan of swimming in really any platformers. So this being a water power-up really is what lands it in the 11th spot on this list. Number 10, the clapping bear with the cymbals. This one actually isn't used very much in the game, and I almost had this one at the very bottom of the list because I forgot that there's a level where you use the cymbals to do different kinds of platforming, that you make platforms move in the world, and I think that was enough to kind of move it up a little bit on my list. I think I would have liked to have seen a little bit more variety in the way that this power-up is used, or even using it in the same way more frequently. Coming in at number 9 is the Monkey Climber power-up. I had a tough time deciding where to put this one on the list, mainly because it has multiple uses that one of them is really bad and the other two are really good. This power-up is mainly used for climbing, and then you have to use like the motion controls as you go as well, and it's really not that great. Also, use the monkey to hit the ground and it affects enemies that are around you, and there's some items you can pick up and you can throw them with this power-up too. And that's kind of what brought it up above the ones that were lower down on this list for me. And the main thing keeping it from being higher up is that the main use of the power-up is this motion control climbing that I don't particularly care for. Number 8 is the metal ball. I actually like this one quite a bit. Rolling around in the ball reminds me of the Morph Ball from Metroid Prime, which is one of my favorite games. And I think it's fun to be able to use the metal ball to shield yourself from enemies, interact with objects that you wouldn't normally be able to interact with, and also just get to places that you wouldn't normally be able to get to. This one wasn't used very much. However, I thought the way that they used it was actually pretty good. If they used it more, I think it probably would have gone further down on this list because it probably would have felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again. But I thought that they used it the perfect amount. In a couple levels, you use it for platforming and to get around. In another level, you use it for a boss battle, and it ends up being a fun power-up. Number 7 is Barkster the Bulldog. This is one of the first power-ups that you're introduced to in the game, and it does feel pretty introductory. The ability is basically just a dash forward that you can use to break through glass barriers, and sometimes if an enemy is coming at you, you can use it to make the enemy like bounce away or something. What puts this above the other ones that I've talked about so far is that I do think that the platforming nature of it and the way that it's used in this game is interesting. What holds it back from being higher up on the list for me is that I think that dashing forward is just kind of boring. Bringing us into the top half at number 6 is the Chicken Booster. This one's pretty similar to the Bulldog, except instead of shooting you forward, it just shoots you straight up into the air. The reason this one ended up above the Bulldog for me was that there's more instances in the game where you can utilize this one with specific timing in order to jump over an obstacle that's coming at you, or jumping down into an area and then using the chicken booster to get back up to the area that you came with. I felt like the use case was a little bit more diverse for the chicken booster, and that's how it kind of edged out the Bulldog for me. Coming in at number 5 is the elephant power-up. Basically, this one, you stand in a body of liquid, and it like sucks up that liquid, and then you can jump into the air and use the power-up, and it makes a little platform for you. And I found this one to be really cool. I liked the way that they used it in the game, but I think that they should have... I think I would have liked if they'd made you use it in more diverse ways in order to see all of the game's secrets. And I also liked how, depending on what the liquid was that you sucked up, the little platform that you put out might have different effects. There was a green liquid that I think made some kind of like plant, and then the gray liquid, which I think was supposed to be like wet concrete, and then there was the yellow one that I think was supposed to be like honey from like bees. And that one was cool because the little platforms that you make would be like bouncy, so you could really use that to be able to reach areas that you're usually not able to get to. Before I give my top 4, if you haven't yet, please go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. Coming in at number 4 is the Frog boxing gloves. This one had a shot at being number 1 on the list. It's actually pretty simple in that basically it just gives you big boxing gloves that you can use to punch enemies, but then you can also use them to latch on to certain surfaces to be able to use for platforming as well, which is one of the things that I like about it. There's also actually a hidden feature for this one. If you do like a spin attack and then punch while you're doing the spin, you can do this really cool attack where the boxing gloves will just kind of like spin around you in like a whirlpool type motion, and it's quite fun. Coming in at number 3 is the sponge. I don't know what this one's called. I saw online that it might have been called SpongeBot SquarePants, but I don't even know if that's really the name. I don't know if any of these power-ups actually have names. The sponge power-up is cool because you can absorb water, and when you do absorb water, you grow to be like much bigger. And when you're in your bigger form, you can take out enemies really easily, or you can spray out all of the water that you've collected to be able to like wash stuff off or to put out a fire or something like that. And then when you do spray out your water, you shrink back down so that you get small again. Small, like normal Astrobot size. The thing that keeps this one from being higher up on the list for me is that I wish they had done a little bit more with it. That it seems like they kind of started exploring what you can do with this sponge ability, but seems like they didn't really see it all the way through. Coming in at number 2 is the mouse power-up. This one is very cool. When you use this power-up, you shrink down to the size of a mouse so that you can go into little cracks and go jump on like the leaves of plants and stuff without like damaging them. And using this ability to kind of grow and shrink and grow and shrink, you're able to kind of walk through this area and get through different puzzles, and it's really fun. The reason it edges out the sponge for me was that even though they only used it in one level, I felt like they kind of showed us everything that they came up with already. I didn't finish that level thinking that there were going to be more tricks and secrets to uncover with the mouse power-up. And coming in at number 1 is the slow motion VR goggles power-up. And this one's actually a pretty simple power up. Basically, you just hit a button and everything around you starts moving in slow motion. But the way that they used it, I think was really great. At one point in a casino level, you can use this power up to win the slot machines. There's a boss battle where you use this one to counter boss attacks. You can use this power up when projectiles are coming at you to kind of slow time and make sure to move out of the way or hit an enemy. Or even for platforming, there's a section where there's dolphins jumping out of the water, and if you time it just right, you can slow-mo the dolphins to be able to jump on top of them to be able to get to a hidden area. This is the power-up that I looked forward to the most when I was going to replay levels, and that's why it comes in at number 1. Guys, in the comment section, please let me know how you would rank the different power-ups in Astrobot. Until next time, the best way to keep up with me is on Twitter and on Instagram at James_Solar, and on Blue Sky at jamessolar.bsky.social. Thanks, guys.